Mr. Venice, and then we didn't have, and then we voted to have no December meetings. There was, here's the, who was here and who was absent, okay?
Okay.
So if you use
Then I
that,
can update the report.
yep, and then you could do 11:27 minutes. Typed up minutes.
Oh, this is 11:20.
That'd be 11:27.
What happened to 11?
No, no 11:13, we didn't have a quorum, I think. Hi, everybody, welcome to the Special Charter Review Committee meeting. It is January 22nd, 5 p.m. We are in the hearing room at the Government Center in Fall River, Massachusetts. And pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any media. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. And if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if we could take attendance, please, starting to my right.
Dan Robillard. Paul Machado.
Rena Brown.
Mimi Larrabee.
Tracy Almeida.
Kathy Nemkovich.
Tim Campos.
Okay. And public input. There was a letter submitted for public input. I'm going to read it into the record, okay, everybody? Subject is request to pause charter recommendations by the city council. This letter, by the way, for public input was sent to the committee and posted on the website. If it's not there, I went right to IT. I have, trust me, tried to address these issues. Apparently, agendas go to the clerk, anything else goes directly to IT. And I follow up with IT, so this should be out there, everybody. January 10th of 2024, Attorney Rena Brown, Chair, Dan Robillard, Vice Chair, Fall River Special Charter Review Committee. Dear Chair, Attorney Rena Brown, Vice Chair, Dan Robillard, and esteemed committee members. We hope this letter finds each of you well. On behalf of the Fall River Charter Review Initiative, we extend our sincere appreciation for your dedicated efforts and commitment to public service throughout this past year. Your work on the Fall River Special Charter Review Committee has undoubtedly contributed to the betterment of our community. We commend each and every one of you for your diligence and time invested in making recommendations for the city charter. Your commitment to this vital aspect of our governance has not gone unnoticed, and we express our gratitude for your public service. The purpose of this letter is to bring to your attention an initiative that we, the Fall River Charter Review Initiative, have recently launched. Our aim is to engage the community in a grassroots effort to review and potentially reform the city charter. We believe having two separate charter efforts presented to the voters simultaneously could lead to confusion. In light of this, we kindly request that the recommendations developed by the Fall River Special Charter Review Committee be held in abeyance. Rather than forwarding the recommendations to the City Council at this time, we propose that these recommendations be kept on file. This pause in forwarding the recommendations would allow for a unified and clear presentation of charter proposals to the voters by an elected charter commission. Such an act would also put the review committee in compliance with Section 9(6) of the City Charter. Our proposal aligns with the principle of avoiding confusion, ensuring a coherent and informed decision-making process for the residents of Fall River. Furthermore, we suggest that the Special Charter Review Committee refrains from forwarding any report to the City Council until 2027. By that time, an elected charter commission chosen by the people could potentially take up the task of reviewing and updating the city charter. We acknowledge that 2027 is also the year prescribed by the current city charter, Section 9(6), for the Special Charter Review Committee to present a report. This synchronized timeline would be in accordance with the existing framework and allow for a comprehensive and well-informed charter review process. Once again, we extend our deepest appreciation for your service to the community. We believe that this collaborative approach will serve the best interests of Fall River and its residents. Should you have any questions or require further clarification, please feel free to reach out, and I didn't print up the second page, sorry. to us. We look forward to the continued dialogue and cooperation between our respective initiatives. Sincerely, Nelson Vasquez, General Co-Chair, Colin Dias, Co-Chair, Director of Communications and Strategy, Jeffrey Gaudreau, Co-Chair, Field Operations and Treasurer, the Fall River Charter Review Initiative. Okay, moving on. Any I should ask, any
This group, how was this group formed? Was it just the community members that were interested in taking up this issue?
I could not answer any of those questions. I responded. Mr. Dias sent that via email. I responded. I will submit your correspondence for public input at the January 22nd meeting. I do not have the authority to make those decisions. I'm just the chair, and that was it. That's all I know. I have not spoken to Mr. Dias. I figured public input puts it out there for
think
everybody.
There was an article in the paper, maybe not the Herald News, maybe the Fall River Reporter, that this committee had been formed. And what, my understanding is that they would be seeking an initiative petition to schedule elections like they did previously.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
could I make a brief comment?
absolutely.
Thank you. I heard about this, perusing Facebook. I've known Colin and Nelson for a while, and they reached out to me. I said very simply, I see this as two separate efforts, okay? The process that they are undertaking is the way that the initial Charter Commission was formed, through getting a percentage of the registered voters to sign petitions for a charter review. I made it very clear to both of them that I see these processes as two very separate and very distinct processes. I also told them, and I've said very clearly on the record, for anyone that wants to look, one of about the 50 reasons that I opposed the original charter was because the reviews of this document were not going to be conducted by an elected charter commission. When I was asked by President Camara to sit on this board, I did so eagerly because I thought that having a seat at any table is better than not having any seat. But in no way would I ever support this body's work being delayed. These are two separate and distinct actions. We don't even know, first of all, unless they get the required signatures, their initiative can't even go forward. So
That was my question.
It's true.
you need 15% of the registered voters to sign. I believe it's 15, somewhere between 5 and 15. I don't want to be quoted on the percentage, but that's the way the initial charter undertake again. I wish them well. If they bring me a petition, I'll happily sign it, because I think elected charter commissions are good. But for now, this is where we are. Our work should go forward. We've had 15 meetings. We need to complete our task, take votes on the documents that we're gonna submit, and whatever happens there, happens there. I yield.
I have one other comment. I'm somewhat concerned about the timeline that this is being brought to the committee. These meetings have been public. They've been in, meeting for over a year now, or at least a year. And so I'm wondering about the timeliness of this request and how it dovetails with the existing charter and the requirement for this body to meet and submit its report in that, and so I would not support anything that's at odds with the current charter.
Yeah, I don't know either. I hadn't even heard about it. I don't know. I kind of will echo some of Dan's sentiment. I'm excited people want to be involved in it, but again, I said we've had 15 or so meetings, 2 hours each meeting. I think, as chairperson, I've been extremely liberal with public input, up until now. Public input is at the beginning, it's over, there's not gonna be any more public input during the meeting. So I can't answer any of that, I don't know. I did read an article, though, that, I think outlined some of the things that they wanted to do. I can't remember specifically. Briefly looking at it, I'm not sure if the charter could address everything they wanted to do in their proposed charter recommendations. And others, I like Dan, absolutely citizens should be involved, but I questioned the same thing.
Well, and
Why
I
now?
think
Why
the timeline and access to public comment was very liberal, excessively liberal, I think, and way beyond what the existing charter called for. So it's concerning to me to some degree that at this point in the work that we're being asked to pause. And
But
We don't have
Wait,
to
wait, wait.
pause, and we
no,
shouldn't.
Mr.
we're
Roblon,
being-
one person
Wait a
speaking.
minute, wait a
that
minute.
we're being asked to, that's the
Right.
concern.
For 3 years.
But I don't think it's within our scope. Like, we were given a task, and we were given the
Correct.
current charter, so that's great, we read it or whatever, but what they're asking isn't within our power to do. So that's what
Right.
I'm saying, I wouldn't even discuss it anymore. It's not within the responsibilities we were given, and the tasks and the deadlines and all that we were told to meet.
And the opportunity for that public comment and those recommendations to come forward, that opportunity has been missed.
But
That
even
timeline
if
has
they,
closed.
right, Tracy, but even if they made recommendations, we couldn't do anything.
No, but at least they could be heard, so it could be part of the process, and I think that's what they were saying, they want this sort of collaborative process, and I think everybody around this table is all for that, but there was multiple opportunities for that to occur. So I'm curious about the timeline, you know, them missing the timeline, then asking for this extension that's clearly at odds, and you're right, we don't have the authority, but to even ask at this point, it didn't seem like it was plausible.
Tim?
I would say for the sake of, we don't have the control or power to do anything with this request, not giving it much more credence other than you read it to public. Our task is as such, and, I think we should be very cautious on how we talk about this too. We as a committee were appointed to do a task, and I think from our perspective, we've done a very good job at that, in the very strict timelines that we've had. So I would say, moving on, don't give it too much more, let's continue doing what we
Exactly.
need to do.
I'm in complete agreement. Like I
Yeah.
said, I appreciate the actions of any citizens wanting to get involved in this. And here, we still have more meetings, too. This isn't like this is anywhere near the last. There's plenty of more public input available. Anything else, Mimi?
No, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. I think we have to continue to move forward with the tasks that we have at hand. And they are definitely two separate entities,
Right,
so motion to
Alright.
move on.
we got you. All in favor to move on?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, motion passed. Unfortunately, I was trying to find my notes. Does anybody remember the specific part we stopped at last time? Kathy, you had a ton of notes. And, because technically, the very last time,
Wasn't the last meeting we had, wasn't that when it was just Mr. Bennett?
well, the last meeting was November 27th. It was just Mr. Venice's public
I
input.
don't believe we discussed anything after
We didn't
that.
discuss, oh, here it is, I got it. My last notes, printed 9/18, go back to September. That actual, I think, votes and changes, at least, I printed
Okay.
this on 9/18, so it could have been in October. And I wasn't sure where we left off. Did everybody get, the clerk's? Okay, so there's 26 pages that Paul sent us. That is the most updated, draft
Yep.
with the changes up to that date. Right, because I remember like, under Article 2 Legislature Branch, we added, city resident because it just said voter, remember? I was like, what, does that mean somebody from Swansea comes? And we did change that already. And then, prohibitions, remember?
Yes. we're on
Section
prohibition.
2.3, we had to fix holding the other positions, because that's what we referred to as kind of like that Hetzler issue, the
Yes.
Hetzler clause.
I think
We
that's where we
changed
left
that
it.
one too. And then,
One issue I had with with the charter, the updated charter that was sent is it's missing page 6.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
So and that was a
You are
significant
correct.
part of what we,
Right, I have page 6 on my old one, but I don't have it in the new one. So 5 ends in access to information, 2-7. The next one should have been this. Sorry, section 2-8. Do you
I've
have
got
it?
I will scan it.
Okay.
I will scan it out.
Okay.
And in that one,
That's the only page that was missing?
yes.
Sorry.
so on that one, did we, do anything with 210? I'm just going by my scribbling on the notes. On 210, I underlined the 45th date, and within 45 days, did that stay? Because I have notes here about 30, but that might just be me talking to myself.
Are you looking at, you're not looking at 7-1?
I'm looking at section 2-10.
Okay, because
Okay.
I noticed something about the days too in 7-1. 210.
210 has 45 days for
Oh, that's why I don't have
confirmations.
210.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
page 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back to page 6 at another time. So we'll just make
And I
notes
can
here.
say the changes, the only changes I make are based on the
210.
Okay, so, but we will, just for sake of keeping it in order, we'll review page 6 at the 129 meeting, just, you know what I mean? Because if everybody doesn't have it, Paul will send it. And then, page 7, page 7, we had to change the part about mayor elected by the voters. Here it is, we added any resident who is a registered voter, because remember, we didn't have a Fall River resident in there, so we changed that, right? And then, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, under Article 3, Executive Branch, the prohibitions, it's D. And this goes to this prohibition clause is also in school committee, and it's also under, a lot of others. It reads like this: the mayor shall hold no other compensated city position. No former mayor shall hold a compensated appointed city employment until 1 year following the date on which the former mayor's city service has terminated. This subsection shall not prevent a city employee who has vacated a position in order to serve as mayor from returning to the same city employment held at the time the position was vacated, provided, however, that no person shall be eligible for any other municipal position until at least 1 year following the termination of service as a mayor. This prohibition shall not apply to persons covered by a leave of absence under Section 37 of Chapter 31 of the general laws. And so I read that as saying, if you were the director of IT, you ran for mayor, got the mayor, then your 2 years terms were up, you could go back to director of IT
Before the 1 year.
before the 1 year, right away, right? But then it says though, what if, I have a problem with that 1 year. What if you are the director of IT, and your 2 years as mayor are up, and maybe the assistant to the director of IT is available? you can't there was a member of one of the boards. And I just had a general question about what that board did. He had resigned from the board. I couldn't have a conversation with him about this general question because the year was not up from his resignation from that board. And I get that, you know, we don't want to foster an atmosphere as, oh, the former mayor be able to get a job anywhere because he was the former, like nepotism, but not related, right? But what if really good candidates, because the city has so many job openings for qualified candidates. In this year prohibition, I mean, can we put a clause in there that maybe in certain circumstances it can be waived, or I wanted to put it out there for discussion. I do not have a motion, but I wanted to talk about it.
Question, 'cause
Yeah.
you piqued my curiosity.
Right.
And I think we started to discuss this at one meeting, at some meeting prior before. I don't know when. You said, why would that person, whoever they were, I don't care to know who they are, but why would they not be able to have a general conversation?
I think, I didn't,
That I find curious.
right. I was under the impression that, and this was, I'll tell you this, it was another lawyer too. And I had to wait because the year of his resignation was up, and I called him 2 days after the year was up, and he said, okay, I can talk now.
Yeah, but I'm curious
No.
why he felt he couldn't talk.
I think it's, I don't know, I don't know if it's this prohibition.
But that doesn't, I don't
There's
think
nothing
changing
in the
that
charter
though,
that
yeah,
says
there's
they
nothing
can't
in
talk.
here that says they
Could have
can't
been
talk,
a rumor. We don't know.
yeah.
Well, I don't
Nothing's
know
in black and
if
white.
these prohibitions, this prohibition needs to be clarified. It's always been problematic for me, like, you know,
There's nothing in this.
any of them, like the water department is always, like, licensing is a big issue for
Right.
for people that work in the water department. Department is one of those departments that in order to have certain positions in there, you have to have certain licenses. And, you know, not everybody has the credentials for those jobs. And oftentimes, they go vacant for a while because they either can't get good candidates or they don't have the licensing. I mean, in those circumstances, if you've got a great candidate coming out of an elected office, they can't even consider that person for a year. And I just always thought there's gotta be some kind of exception there, like, you served on the commission, right, the preservation? Are you still on it, or? CPA. So, after you retired from that board, well, it's like, you weren't fired, so you retired off it, right? You wouldn't have been able to get a job like in preservation. Let's just say they were hiring a director. Does that same prohibition apply to all the boards? Like, when you got on it and got off, did they say you can't talk to anybody about it? So maybe the person I spoke to didn't know. But that's what I mean, like, what if there's really good candidates for jobs?
I don't think we have any prohibitions of
Right.
This
board
is just
members, it's
respect to the mayor,
employees.
right?
Yeah.
It
It's
is
not-
employees.
Not necessarily board members,
It's
but. with
employees.
But I mean, should it, if it's,
Actually,
It is
elected
more on the
officials.
mayor.
Furthermore, not all the boards
it's
are
just, it seems,
compensated.
just seems to.
Right,
apply to the
this
mayor.
might have been a
Yeah.
compensated board position.
That's different.
It might have been a compensated board
Mhm.
position.
Because many of the boards are not compensated.
Right. There's a-
Most.
Well, I can
Most.
understand the mayor's,
Many, most,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you're the mayor and you're gonna go back to a previous job, then obviously, you know, there probably isn't gonna be any benefit to you from your position, going back to the position you previously held. But if you're going from mayor to another city position, you know, you could potentially continue your policies through some, and I understand
Right.
that may not apply to other city officials, but for the mayor, I think the wording here is a little bit it makes it seem like it's the mayor and everyone else, and maybe that's what you mean, it shouldn't be for everyone else, or for no one, I don't know.
It's the only reason why I brought, like, we can talk about the current mayor. He was the former principal of Durfee, right?
Yep.
I
Vice,
mean,
vice.
Vice principal, right? What if the next election rolls around and he's not elected and the vice principal or even principal
He's
position
already
is open?
retired from the
Candidate for a different position in administration in the school department. Let's say it's the principal of, Sylvia School. And although they take applications, he's the most qualified. He wouldn't even be able to apply for the year. Like, I just thought that this,
What do you think the reason for that prohibition is?
I think it's for what you're saying.
Yeah.
To not unduly influence probably
Some,
city employees.
but in your example, that wouldn't be the case, cause someone going from mayor to be a principal or principal at Durfee or a school is not gonna be able to push policies along.
That's what I
But
mean.
it's still
So-
compensated city position, so
Right.
how do you rectify that?
So that if you wanna clarify that up, we have to come up with some scope of what positions that might include, which probably would only be in this building or somewhere associated with, a director of this building. Because outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of city positions that would not have any influence from a mayor, post
Right,
the
like-
mayorship.
And I mean, it's just one of the number one problems Fall River has is filling
Filling
compensated
positions,
administrative positions. And if it's not licensing or credentials, it's background and experience, right?
many other reasons.
No, there's a ton. But I mean, I just, I thought it was something that I would love for us to look at and maybe revisit. Maybe we take our collective minds back, either an exception
Or an yeah.
or, like, some kind of exemption, like,
That's probably easier to come up with than
Right.
figuring out where it would fall.
Exactly.
That line's gonna fall.
yes, do the exemption as versus, who.
Outlining every single
Exactly,
position, yeah.
exactly.
How would you phrase an exemption in this
I-
case?
I think that it has to be something on a case-by-case basis that maybe the council votes on. I mean, maybe somebody else looks at it and says, well,
And it determines whether or not.
determines, is do we need a person to fill that so bad that we should really consider
Yeah, are there
hiring this
any other
person before the
candidates?
year is up, other than any of the other candidates, right? And I don't know who would do that, but something like that where the approval of the exemption is subject to review by somebody.
You know,
I don't know who. Right,
Yeah.
but that's what I mean.
It's
As
up to us to say
as a
who.
committee, maybe we can figure that out.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
very briefly.
yes.
The city council in the existing charter already confirms all positions.
Well, just the head ones.
I don't believe so. That, for example, on tomorrow night's council agenda, the mayor is nominating a new fire chief. That fire chief is gonna be voted upon by the city council. As far as I'm aware, and I don't have my original Bible in front of me, and one of the things I'm eager to do when we get our final report, before we vote on it, I wanna sit with the original Bible and compare the original Bible, Charter Bible, to our recommendations. But as I recall, all positions are confirmed by the council now.
Not every single one, but we can take a look at it. I
Many.
just want to,
Certainly all boards and commissions and most.
department
positions.
heads, and the mayor doesn't
Right.
hire him, he makes recommendations. They approve or deny the recommendation. He doesn't do the hiring. The council approves or the council thumbs up or thumbs down it,
That's what I said.
Yeah.
The council confirms
right.
all hirings, basically.
Well, that's the case or something similar, then, I mean, it could be an easy exemption process.
Right.
The
Yeah,
city
passing-
council confirms all.
No, not
I
all.
don't think all.
Very
That
many.
doesn't make
That,
sense.
the
No,
department head.
it doesn't.
That's like,
You get a
Left
job
and
in,
right.
if you get a job in the Department of Public Works to drive a truck,
No, no.
they do
no,
not
I-
confirm
I
that,
think it's
that
leadership,
hiring.
like,
It's just
the
the department heads,
department head.
administration,
Right.
and whatever the regs say.
Right.
Well, I
But,
can tell you this, that's new in the current charter.
no, they do not confirm everything. The department heads, they do. But anyways,
Maybe they
moving
can
on,
do that.
can we, maybe try to fashion an exemption and come back and go to it? I'll
For
put it on the
prohibition?
agenda for
For prohibition?
prohibitions.
Yep.
And that applies to the prohibitions. You'll see it again in the charter and
School
other
committee.
places.
Yep.
But I always thought that 1 year just kept good people
Okay.
from good positions. And then
Would
we
that only
can,
be applicable to the mayor?
well,
Are you trying
there's
to
pro,
apply
there's
it?
the same language is in school committee, and I think it's
4.3.
someplace else in
4.3
here.
is the school committee.
I
Uh,
think it's from a council section too.
Yeah, it's in council, school committee, mayor.
Yes.
That prohibition paragraph is in the three places. But if we could fashion something, and then put it to a vote.
Well, just because in this one, it does include others.
Right.
So it's not just focused on the mayor, so we might want to tidy that up a little bit too.
Right, so look, you're right, it says, this subsection shall not prevent a city employee, so you're right, it includes a lot, so, yeah, I just, like I said, I don't have to say it again, I just think that I get why, but
Yeah, there's gotta be some.
there's gotta be an exemption.
Well, what you said before, I thought sounded pretty good, which is that you can keep the exemption, the 1 year limitation, and then have subject to
Approval.
approval, by the city council, let's
Right.
say, or
Right.
somebody, if there's a need.
Yeah.
Right.
So like you said, if there's someone has specific talents and, and that is needed in the city council could have a hearing and make an exemption.
Right, and could pass
I
a
mean,
resolution to,
I mean, if the
to waive
verbiage
these.
is in there, just stating who and how,
so it'd be
gets
the city-
done.
It
It would be
gets
the
done.
city council by
It would
some
be the-
vote
Well,
or
there'd also
whatever.
have to be
Right.
some kind of, so this is the gray area though with this,
Mhm.
because, if you have a mayor, an ex-mayor who is very, close with a lot of members of the city council, working very well together, there have to be some kind of levels of requirement, from background experience that would allow the mayor to be qualified in a slightly different way,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
So that would be part of the exemption we'd have to come up with is,
Right.
what is that criteria? Like, a mayor can't just say, oh, I wanna be the fire chief and I'm gonna go be a fire chief.
Right,
you know?
right,
It's
I
like-
I get what you're saying.
So-
right, I mean, they would have to meet the qualifications
Right,
of
so
the
we have to
position.
come up with
Right.
something where that is very spelled out.
Where the
because if we
exemption is
don't,
detailed,
Right. There's a
exactly.
There's a gray area, and now all of a sudden, in the future, someone could go and do a job that they're not qualified for,
Mhm.
but the council approved them. And here, now we're in a situation that I think the language was trying to avoid, but I understand that there needs to be an exemption, so I would say.
One of my questions is this, and this is just a hypothetical. Let's just say the special charter review finishes its tasks. Our committee is dissolved because it gets done. What if Paul Machado's offered a job as corporation counsel? Does that mean that he couldn't entertain it for a whole year?
This is not a
compensated.
paid position.
No, but is it just paid?
I
That's
believe
my
so,
Okay.
I
understanding.
believe so.
All
I
right.
see it in,
Yeah,
I
it says
see it in,
compensated.
it's
City employment.
3D.
No other compensated positions.
All right, so
says-
it's just compensated,
It's
all righty.
compensated.
Yes.
Okay, see? Good
So unless
thing.
you're compensated on the board, right,
Right,
it's a city
Right.
compensated
Right.
position, then, there would be some.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in section 2-3A is about city council.
what is it again, say those off? 2-3A, yep, city council,
And then 3-1D is the mayor,
yep,
and then, the next one is
and
the.
it's probably gonna be school committee.
4-3 is the school committee.
4-3,
But
okay.
I don't see anything in terms of other,
Any others? All right.
maybe I missed it though.
Oh, nice, okay. All right, I took note, I'm taking better notes. Anybody with section 3-2?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, no, I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
And then appointments by the mayor. All appointments to multi-member bodies shall be under Article 5. And, you know what I did want to ask?
What?
See how when they refer you to another article, like, see how it says Article 5? Do you think in parentheses, we should put administrative organization in parentheses after the referral? Like, put the title of the article that they refer to, or just leave it, do you know what I mean?
You don't think that when they refer to Article
Article 5.
Section 210, that's specific enough? You want to have the title also?
I'm just wondering, no, it's a
I-
lot of,
I-
like, city council confirmation, no, okay.
I-
All righty, I
I
got you.
Think it would just
Be
expand
too
the
much
title
words.
and-
So, hey, Dan, I hate to get off the beaten path, but Dan, I want to read the city council confirmation of certain appointments. The mayor shall refer to the city council and simultaneously file with the city clerk the name of each person he desires to appoint as a city officer, department head, or a member of a multi-member board.
City officer basically means an employee, I believe.
You're referencing 210?
Yeah, because Dan said everybody, but it's not everybody, it's just a city officer, department head, or member of a multi-member board.
Well, that encompasses quite a few people, with all due respect.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I knew it was somewhere in the charter, I just didn't know where. All right, so, three,
Didn't
three,
we
we're okay?
eliminate the term city officer previously?
I
We
thought we
did
did.
somewhere.
I thought we did.
Yes.
3-3.
Because remember, Attorney Rumsey said that it didn't make any sense.
Because, did we make a motion to take out that city officer everywhere?
I believe we did.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Couldn't tell you when or how, but I
Well, I
Shall we
think
make
we-
it again?
I think we took it out of the definitions.
The definitions, yes, we took city
did that quite a
officer,
while ago.
so it's just city department head, so we took officer.
Okay. Did we take it out of everywhere, or just? Through the whole
Yeah.
thing, okay.
Well,
Unless
is that-
there's,
Is that what the vote was?
well, that I don't know.
I make
I
a
don't know.
motion that we take city officer out of everywhere it's in the charter.
Well, I would say
Is it
before
still
we
in
vote to
there?
that, we may want to.
Know where they
look-
are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go through them,
So, do you wanna go through it and then find out where it is, and then
yeah.
at the next meeting, you'll give us it, and then we can do one motion and cite every section?
Yep.
Does that sound all right? All right.
Yep.
Tim to find city
Office.
officer. And we will,
Does that get replaced by something?
So, I guess we had it defined as city department head, right, instead of city officer or department head.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm gonna pull out all the points where city
Nice.
officer is
That was a
referenced,
while
and then
back.
that'd be perfect.
we can decide if it makes sense to remove it, or we
Where's
have to
the
add another
difference?
definition and.
I thought we did remove it.
In definitions, there was that phrase, city officer, and we had discussion about it, and we were like, yeah, we spoke with Alan, we've got department heads,
Uh-huh.
and we've got,
City officer was too broad of a.
yeah, there was no way to figure out who was
Nobody
the
really
city
referred
officer.
to you in that manner anymore.
No.
right? So, it's confusing.
Right, so if we take, like in this one, for instance, in 210, if we take it out, the sentence changed would read, "The mayor shall refer to the city council and simultaneously file with the city clerk the name of each person he desires to appoint as a department head or as a member of a multi-member board." See, city officer was in there before, but no, we don't call anybody officers anymore. We took it out of the definitions, but Tim, that's a great idea.
However, However,
Yeah.
did city officer also apply to other city employees?
That's what I'm trying to figure
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So,
I think, that's why I think it's important that we look at every single reference to it,
See,
and then,
The context of
The
it.
yeah, cause that
context
may
of it.
mean that there is a couple places where city officers.
So I'll do,
I mean-
I'm gonna check with the clerk to see if anybody has a
That's
title.
also good as city
Officer Paul
officer.
Machado or Officer Dan Robelot, because if somebody has officer in their title, we'll try to figure it out. Like we know that there's police officers, right? That's not referring
Yeah,
to that.
no.
But I'll check with the clerk's office to see if there is a job title that
Officer,
says
City officer, yep.
officer of the trash cans. Because we really don't know.
Right.
So I'll check with her, check with the Rena, check with clerk
but
on employment. It's
There
really
is
an,
an animal control officer, I can tell you right now.
yeah. But there might, that name might have changed because, in this political climate.
What was the old definition of city
But wouldn't
officer?
that be called a department head? No?
That's what I mean. But he's right. So it's a police officer though. That's why he's the dog officer.
It
It's a
is
part of the police
It was
department.
Joy Bannister, I don't know about now.
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that the term city officer,
Mhm.
so the approval is needed for department heads, members of multiple bodies, but also there are other city employees who I think need to be approved.
And so we have to describe that better
So,
than city
yes.
officer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll check with the clerk on these employment titles regarding city officer, right? And I'm also going to get a list of actually what has to be approved by the council, right? Because they must have a list. We know who the department heads are, right? And we know
Right.
who the multi-member board members are. I'm gonna ask her, who falls under the city officer that they would have to approve? That isn't a department head and isn't a member of a multi-member board? Like the CFO is the
Would-
chief financial
Would-
officer.
Would the city clerk be an officer? Who, we have to find out.
Yeah, I
what-
will, we will,
Yeah,
and
we
we,
need to define-
I'll put it back on there,
More
when I,
explicitly,
yes.
that would
Because
be
we do have a
clarified.
CFO, there is a chief financial
Right.
officer,
That would be Miss Almond.
right?
Right.
No CEO,
Mm-mm.
I'll check. Yeah. All right,
You are correct.
anything,
Can I bring up
Yes.
something that I noticed, and you guys,
Go
other
ahead.
attorneys can also,
we'll
but-
try.
About being more explicit on the article, like, I think we either need to do that, like adding what the article is, or we need to say herein or something, because I know we're trying to deal with ambiguity, and if you say Article 5, there are a lot of Article 5s. Now, assumption is Article 5 here in this, in this, but somewhere in this document, whether we do it for each time it's referenced, or somewhere in the beginning, that we reference that every reference to an article is referencing this document herein, or we say it every time, or we reference a little bit more saying the name of the article. So it'll be easy to not misunderstand that you're talking about, the mayor's prohibitions instead of it being Article 2, section this.
All of that is very confusing in my opinion, any way you put it.
No, but I know what you're saying.
It's legally,
Somebody
it's-
might read this and see Article 5 and think, is it Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Rights?
And let's say there's some
We have to make
consistency
it-
somewhere.
So
Right,
maybe in the
right.
definition, maybe you can come up with a line in the definitions, like, we have a table of contents. And we do have a table of definitions that are not attached to this,
Right.
that you guys have been working on. But maybe somewhere you can add that paragraph that any reference to articles or sections are the references to this charter's articles and sections.
Yeah, we could do that, or you just put herein after every time you reference it. I don't know how many times it's referenced, but there's also that, so.
Lawyers don't like that word hereinbefore.
I know, herein
And you know what else we don't like? Forthwith.
forthwith, notwithstanding, all the good
No.
stuff.
Thank you. Somebody invented those.
Yeah, I think we could just
The
to
name of the
a-
article, wherever you don't have
After
to, you don't have to
definitions,
flip
we can
around.
just put like a little instruction
Yeah,
that
just to
says,
take out the
all
ambiguity.
references to articles are to the articles of this charter.
Perfect.
That's a great idea.
Actually, yeah.
Okay, there you go, Mr. Clerk. So we're at 3 appointments by the mayor. Anything, anybody? Or temporary appointments to city offices or removal or suspension of certain officials. All right, moving on. By the way, that doesn't mean if you go back and read this all later on, we can't come back, okay?
yeah.
Alrighty. And then, section 3.8. Well, no, let me go through it right. 3.6, communication special meetings.
Uh-huh.
Anybody comments? Approval of mayor veto. And now, section 3.8, temporary absence of the mayor. Did we ever change, other cause or define it? Did you define it in the definitions? Section 3.8, temporary absence of the mayor, acting mayor, whenever by reason of sickness or other cause, the mayor's unable to perform the duties, for 21 days. Did we define other cause in the definitions?
No.
Did we decide, we had a lot of talk on it.
We did,
Okay,
we did.
These changes would be based on what we actually voted
okay,
on.
Right.
okay, so we already did.
And I believe that we talked about, I remember you talked,
That's why we ended up putting the 21 days in, because
Yeah, it was.
if we left something out, we'd be in trouble. If we put too much in,
Yes.
okay. Moving, on. Any more discussion on temporary absence?
Just one small change. In the event that a mayor announces his inability, should be changed to their.
Yeah. Where is it?
The second to last
Yep.
sentence in 3.8.
Right here.
3.8A.
THEIR. Is there a motion to change the?
Motion.
Is there other places, though, in the charter that they refer to it in one specific gender? Can I make a motion that any gender references become
There,
Gender
there,
neutral.
gender neutral?
and is the plural gender neutral?
It would be there. His or her would be there.
Where are we looking at?
THEIR, section.
In
3.8.
section 3.8,
3.8A.
Tim,
Last.
go
Yeah, so
to
be
A,
there,
it's
THEIR.
the second to last line.
There is plural.
On
and
A.
singular.
why, what do you,
It's plural and
Yeah.
singular.
Are you looking at the latest
There.
one?
No.
right,
Where did he,
We
where
struck
did
the last.
he put, where did they go? Or where did he go? I don't know. Where did,
Oh, wait,
Where
yeah,
did that
no, wait a
person
No,
minute.
but I'm
They
saying, is
went.
that the gender neutral pronoun?
there. Yes, THEIR.
Right.
Is the
Why
gender
don't we
neutral
add it
pronoun.
So I make a motion that any of the language be modified to a gender neutral pronoun.
I make a motion.
I second.
Thank you. We got a second?
I was
And-
still thinking though.
Okay.
I was still thinking.
Any further discussion on the motion for the pronouns to be gender neutral? I have a second. No discussion, all in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody else? Did it go all the way down? Kathy, aye.
I second
Tim?
it.
Gender neutral pronoun motion.
I say no.
Yeah, I don't know, necessarily about the gender neutral pronoun.
Roll call.
Okay.
Okay,
Wait,
So-
before we do a
Yes,
roll call, can
yes.
we hear from the people that are opposing it as to why, maybe?
I asked for discussion. Anybody want to make a comment?
I just think there's a way to maybe rephrase that without even using a gender pronoun at all. So I think if
Yeah,
there
I
are,
like
if there are instances, right, I think we could just review a couple of those areas and then make a decision on whether or not that pronoun needs to be there, and then we can make a decision,
right,
right?
right. And I think the thing that sticks out to all of us is just the word his.
Yeah, I
The
was.
mayor
Yeah.
is
So-
being
so-
referred to as a
Yeah.
man.
So that could be rephrased, in the event that the mayor announces
In,
an
Inability.
inability,
Yeah,
right.
before.
Okay, I withdraw
I'm not-
my,
I'm
I
not
withdraw my
crazy.
yes.
Well,
I
the
like-
vote's not over, so
Okay.
don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah,
We
yeah.
can, I'll withdraw the motion. I'll withdraw
I
the
like what
motion.
Tim is saying.
So,
And there may be cases where we do need to
yeah,
address that, I don't know.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Um,
And then the new
announces
motion
the
is on
inability.
section 3-8, small a, in the second to last session, my motion is that his be changed to
And.
A-N. Have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion on changing his to Ann in 3-8? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Vice Chair?
No,
So, motion passes, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. All righty, so that's there.
That was his to Ann, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
his to A-N.
And is that a general motion where we're gonna remove?
No, just this one.
all
Just this
pronouns?
one.
Mine was
3-8.
just on section 3-8. I withdrew my motion.
No,
On
but what
the,
I'm saying is we could go through and,
I think we need to do that.
and.
And
Mhm.
change language that
change
would
language that
not
avoids,
require the
avoids
need.
pronouns, yeah.
Yes.
Well, the motion can even be, we change it to a gender-neutral pronoun or eliminate the need for the pronoun. And then it's encompassing, either way.
Correct.
To eliminate the need for the
Right.
pronoun at all. But it won't hang us up on each one.
want to go through it and just let us know
I don't
if
think
that, when
there's
that
gonna be
happens?
many, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Just gonna throw it.
That's the only one I.
So
Yeah,
I
I
make a
don't think
motion
there's
that the
gonna be
clerk can
many.
go through this
Yeah.
and bring to our attention when that arises.
During
Right.
the conversation.
Right, good point.
All right, moving on. Powers of acting mayor. Any comments?
No.
Moving on to C and D, secession or vacancy. 3-9, delegation of authority by mayor. Vacancy in the office of mayor. I have. Oh, during the 21, day needs an S. That's what my comment is. In 310.
Okay?
In 310, vacancy in the office of mayor, the second sentence, greater than 21
Oh,
days,
yeah.
plural, S. All right? Any other discussion? Okay, moving on. Again, we can always go back. Section 311, planning, section 312, strategic plan. Any discussion?
No.
Article 4, school committee. Did you do the changes there about making them, yep, resident and registered voters? Nice job, Mr. Clerk. I know this is
Attaboy.
time consuming. Any discussion in those? Okay, moving on. 4-3, prohibitions. No former member of the school committee shall hold any compensated appointed city office or city employment until 1 year following the date on that member's service on the school committee terminated. And this is what I'm talking
Yep.
about. What if we have a great teacher on the school committee? They can't become employed as a teacher.
They can't be on the school committee if they're a teacher.
So they would have to resign from the, but I mean,
they just have to choose their,
they can't be, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's right. They can
can't-
only take one
They can only
salary,
take one salary. So they could go back to being teacher because they can keep it, right? Okay. No,
Right.
find language for an
Yeah.
exemption.
Could we also look at like maybe doing like an overarching prohibition section instead of it being individualized? Cause I think it comes up, what, 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's,
So,
like, do a whole different section,
yeah, that's just prohibitions.
like
and
employment prohibitions or
however
whatever.
it's- Yeah, whatever we name it, but then we just include whatever the exemptions are, the
Nice.
process, and then it applies to every, whatever, you know, school committee, mayor, however we wanna.
City council.
City council, and then that just allows us to focus in on one paragraph, and then we can move on.
Right,
Cause every time we go through these sections, we're gonna have to go back and modify that
and refer
exact
those,
one.
those 3 others.
Yeah.
There's a note in the former
Oh, there
copy that
was.
says mimic 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we know that we want the language to read the same across. There were,
I think that's a great idea, because then like that member of that board that said, I had to wait until his year was up, I think it would make it clearer for those people as well, like,
that it's the same across the board.
right, okay,
Regardless of the position you hold, the prohibitions are,
are there.
Equal.
But yeah, I think it's a good idea to kind of, because that was the issue in the lawsuit, was the prohibition. And you're right, if we have a separate section for those prohibitions, pull them out of each one, and then we could address compensated board members, department, you know? Yeah,
go
great
into a
idea.
little more detail.
All right, so I'm gonna put that over on the 129,
Yeah,
because
I
that
mean,
gives us, it gives us a week to kind of,
Yeah,
All right.
everyone can bring up some kind of
Right.
suggestion and we can figure it out. And there's different ways to frame it in there, in the charter itself too. Like, it can be a reference to, so that can be there referencing this section that we add, so it doesn't change table
Right.
of contents and make it complicated. Or we can spend the time and reformat it.
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
through you, may I ask, my colleague, Mr. Machado, a question?
No, absolutely, go ahead.
Mr. Machado, just piggybacking slightly, because I'm slightly confused on what the chair said, was not the issue in the Hetzler case. The only issue was whether or not he could run for elected office, correct? So that's different than the section they're discussing, is it not?
No, they challenged the prohibition clauses in his. We'll get you the decision, you can read it. But that's what was kind of
Look,
challenged in that, is
look.
that they were telling him
Look,
he,
going back to my service on the original charter commission, I warned everybody not to put that language in.
Right.
Because you would exclude somebody from running for public office. I cited the very example. And before anybody asked me, why did that occur? Because that's the language we were given by the
Yep.
consultant. And 8 other members voted to leave that language in. I opposed it.
we're gonna fix it now though, Dan.
But
No, I hear you, it caused a lot, it created it spent a lot of our tax dollars. Both ways, Dan, by paying those people to put it in there and then defending the lawsuit. So that was an expensive boo-boo by that company.
But I could be wrong. And I'm happy to be corrected. The section that you just cited is different, I think, from the Hetzler case.
I'll get the decision, can I answer it next week?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I-
all right. So, moving on, compensation and expenses. School committee powers and duties, any comments, concerns? Moving on, again, when I say moving on, I don't mean moving on and can't ever go back. Section 4.6, meetings of the school committee. Interference with administration. I do have a question, though, because we do have a school committee member here, and this was my question. Section 4.7, interference with administration. The school committee, or any member thereof, shall not give orders or directions to any employee of the school department appointed by the superintendent, either publicly or privately. I do have a little problem with that, and here's the deal. Like, does that mean, like, if teacher to make sure they let you know when he doesn't do his homework? Like, they put these broad lines
It
in
is broad.
here.
It is broad, but obviously that's not the truth,
The
right?
intent.
So the intent or the truth, because any parent has the right to question any teacher
Right.
if they house and are teaching their child. But in different instances, no, they cannot tell anybody in the we cannot tell anybody in the
Tell anybody what
district
to do.
Employer.
or request,
They're not.
right, we're
any-
not their
any
employer.
Employee-related or employment-related
business.
requests.
Right, but it's just that it's kind of broad, like I said.
It
You got a
is
school
broad.
committee member who is also a parent,
Which has happened many
and
times.
and they call and say, hey, I wanna know when Johnny doesn't do his homework.
That's fine.
Mhm.
All
Violates that
parents can do
clause.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
She's giving an employee a private order.
That's not an order.
Okay.
It's
As
a
pa-
request.
As a parent, I can call a teacher and say, I'd like to know if my son or daughter is missing any assignments.
Well, maybe something that, it doesn't
I
include
did it. and
this
there-
parent-teacher
there-
thing.
There's parent portals where you can look everything up, I mean, I don't.
I wouldn't be
it-
opposed to adding a sentence
I
with,
think
that it
it
doesn't.
is important, cause there is a lot of ambiguity there,
Of
and if there
course,
was
yeah.
some kind of conflict,
Right.
all someone has to do
is say
is go back and
read
say,
3
you
point, yeah.
said this
yeah.
in this email privately, and doesn't matter what it was about. Now, I agree with you, it shouldn't be that way, but all we need to do is put something clarifying it for city business or something,
Again,
or not.
I didn't like that language because.
I'm sure.
In the council section, there were there were discussions in the first charter commission about councilors' rights to question department heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's just say, I keep picking on you because you're
Yeah,
only a committee member here. What if Mimi calls the principal of Durfee and says, hey, give me a heads up when your Christmas party is? I want to know ahead of time so I can do this, this, and this. I mean, that's what this line says you can't do.
Right.
And I remember, I think I was talking to another committee member, and I says, hey, and she says, yeah, no, we can't do that. We can't contact them on behalf of anybody. They can't call, and so I went, all righty. I just think that it's too vague, it's too big. We either have to write in there, ordering them around, like, you call the principal and say, hey, go
Just
paint
as
the,
matters pertaining
Right.
to city business, because realistically, it's anything that's not city business. If you're a parent or you're just a normal city resident and you have something to say to somebody, you shouldn't be
That would
violating.
be outside the scope of,
Mhm.
you could say something that would be outside the scope of normal, or like,
Parent, teacher, parent, principal, parent,
right,
any parent duty.
of
That is
the
assumed.
normal boundaries of
Right.
citizen,
it's just,
citizen.
yeah, like, now, every time I read it, shall not give orders or directions to any employee. What if your niece gets a job and she's a brand-new substitute teacher and she doesn't have kind of stuff that line is bugging me about, like regular everyday advice or input. You can't privately and publicly. And boy, that kind of violates your First Amendment right to free speech. It's telling you can't have those conversations with anybody, Mimi. So if an intern gets a job at the school department and wants to pick your brain about something,
We tell a lot of people they can't have conversations in this document.
I know, it's troubling to me, but anyways,
Well, in this
Not just
particular
these
case, what's the
people.
point of the?
right.
I mean, maybe in some other sections, there may be a point, not that it's right or wrong, but this doesn't, what's the point of that statement? Is it to keep what from happening?
I think it's to keep from, using your influence on the school committee to get something done, right?
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
definitely the interpretation
that's
of that.
I think the intent
Absolutely.
is that, as a school committee member,
Mhm.
you don't kind of abuse your authority.
Of course.
Mimi calls, she's a school, well, Mimi called, she's a school committee member, I better do it, so they don't feel influenced, but I think we can clean that up.
I can tell you what the discussion was in the first charter commission, because it was cited. They talked about a city councilor calling the department head for X, Y, and Z. So, I never liked the language, I voted against the whole section, I voted against 99% of the whole charter, did vote against the whole charter, so there's a lot of stuff in here.
I mean, I
But
don't
there's
even
nothing
my,
in there for city council, it's only in there for a school committee.
No, it's in there for
It's
city
in here
council.
for department heads.
It's in there.
For
It's in
department
there.
heads? Interference with, is it labeled the same?
It's in there, believe me.
appointments,
It talks
Okay.
about councilors having to submit,
Mhm.
direct questions to department heads before.
there is no,
No. wait a
no,
minute.
there is, interference with there
Right
is
here.
no interference with administration and council.
2-3, yeah, section 2-3.
Oh, so
It's on, it's
earlier.
B, under
Okay.
prohibitions, interference with administration.
Okay,
It's
all
in
right.
there.
Except
Except
for
for
employees appointed in
appointed in
accordance with
accordance
section
with
2-8, the
2-8.
city council or any member of the city council shall not give
Right,
orders or
there you go.
directions to any employee of the city, either publicly or privately. It's exactly the same language.
Yeah,
page
so
four.
I knew it was there, I just
I
thought it
think
was
it-
after.
I think it needs to be tightened up. I just think both of them then, and if it has it in there, well, it must not have it from mayor. The mayor must be able to give some orders, right?
Mm.
The only thing with that one is it's a little bit better, cause it says interference with administration, so at least there's some reference to administering government, city business, whereas this other one is very much open-ended.
Well, you know why they didn't put it in it, cause they titled it.
I mean, it says interference with administration, so we have it there too, so, I mean, again, it's one of those where we might be able to, like the prohibitions, having just an overreaching section that qualifies how we're gonna define that.
Right. I mean, the other question is, so Mimi, if you call up and violate this, what happens?
Nothing.
Okay, I mean, that's the other thing that I always wondered about this charter. I mean, we did put our grievance committee in, but, there's gotta be free flow of certain information between entities, especially the school.
Well, what would it be deemed not interference if there's a middleman in the, somebody or group or committee that's
We
there
have shall not give orders,
facilitating
directions
that?
to
We
you.
need to remove that whole language.
I just think it should
Yeah.
come out. I really do. I mean, if Mimi as a school committee member calls up a teacher and says, listen, and don't forget, next week,
It's not
you're,
under our
you're
scope, our
paying-
scope is to report,
Right.
to discuss
So-
with the superintendent.
Right, but I mean, I'm just saying,
Right.
if you did,
We're overstepping.
you're overstepping,
And
but
what-
you
and
guys
what
have your own
happens?
guidelines,
And
right?
What happens?
Well, they can file an ethics complaint.
Right. It then turns into something a little bigger.
I do think these
So
interference
it's
with
covered,
administration should come right out.
It's covered in something.
Yes.
Under the school board.
Yes.
And I would assume that it's covered under something else for the city council.
I bet you most of the members don't call. That's an
Yeah, it's definitely in
observation
the ethics
from
aspect.
watching on
Yeah.
TV.
So then we don't even need it in here.
I don't even
If
like
it's
it.
covered there,
I always thought it should come out. When I read it the 20 times, I was like,
Let me look at the paragraph in the ethics.
Watching a school committee meeting on TV. is
yeah,
better
I mean,
than-
maybe
me
you
just
put
see what-
something
what-
in that,
That
the
mimics
elected
that
officials
mimics.
abide by the ethical
Like a
guidelines
two-member
set out by
committee
blah, blah,
right
blah, blah,
now.
blah, but to just blatantly say you can't, because anybody can interpret this in a,
Yeah,
Well,
well,
it becomes
it's definitely,
problematic and challengeable, because if you are violating someone's First Amendment right.
If we've already had sections, Chair, one of them thrown out.
I'm gonna read
so
it.
prohibition section, school committee interference, Mimi will check
Yeah,
it,
I'm
all right,
gonna
interference.
Look at it when I get home.
Mimi will,
If we
Just
take
get
it
the
out-
verbiage
Check
for
it.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
If we take it out there, it should come out on the council side.
exactly. Because sometimes the councils, especially around budget time, don't they call department heads and have questions and stuff?
Listen, you've been to city council meetings as I have. How many times have we sat?
And said, why didn't they call beforehand? And why are we sitting here for 45 minutes? All right, so Mimi will check
Yes,
the
I'm
school
gonna look at
committee
the
ethics
ethics, yeah.
stuff. And
See
then
how
we'll
it's written.
revisit that on the next meeting, is that all right?
yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
maybe like an abuse of powers kind of.
I think an
section.
abuse of power section.
Yeah, cause then we can just be
That's what
very
it's all under.
specific, yeah.
It's all under the abuse of power.
Yeah,
Yeah,
forget
I'm
about
gonna-
the prohibitions.
I like that,
All right.
abuse of power, prohibition. That is nice, abuse of power. I like that word. Moving
It's
on,
3 words.
Can I go back?
yes. No, you stay right there with your pen.
We previously talked about the Hetzler decision.
Where are we?
And 9/12. And
Oh,
I
we didn't
think
get
we
there yet.
changed- I think we changed that, and that specifically says a city employee may seek. as
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait,
Let me
let us get there.
Let me-
9/12,
A city employee.
9/12, limitation on office holding. A city employee may seek an elected office.
So we had already changed that to address the
Right.
Hetzler decision.
Okay,
So it's not applicable to the prior provision that we were
right,
talking about.
all righty.
This is 9/12.
Yeah, 9/12, limitation on office holding.
So we already changed it.
Courts have decided he ran and he chose not to run, so
All right, so filling of vacancies, 4-8, is everybody, any discussion?
what's
Article 5, administrative organization, organization of city agencies, any discussion? Moving on to the merit principle. No discussion yet? Okay. Article 6, finance and fiscal procedures, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4. Any discussion? Fiscal year, annual budget. Page 15, Section 6-5, capital improvement program. Section 6-6, independent audit. Any discussion? Moving on. Section 6-7, 6-8, 6-9, and 6-10, expenditures in excess of appropriations, quarterly budget updates, long-term financial forecast, public access to financial documents.
I'm sorry, you did say we could bring these all up again?
All up again, yeah, absolutely,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Anybody?
No.
We're gonna come back and visit this, I'm gonna read this a little more. All right, I'm talking to myself, sorry, everybody. This section 6-7, expenditures in excess of appropriations. I'm gonna revisit it. Article 7, elections. Preliminary election.
I had something, in that paragraph. I had
Go
in my
ahead.
notes that we changed the date, the number of days, based on the recommendation from the election committee.
From Ryan Lyons.
From Ryan. And in my notes, the problem is in my notes, I have 2 different recommended days. So,
Are you talking about the last line?
yes.
Just let me make the record clear. Article 7, elections, Section 7-1, preliminary elections, and,
Whenever a special
chairperson-
election.
yeah, just read that into the record.
Whenever a special election to fill a vacancy is to be held, a preliminary election shall be conducted, if necessary, 28 days before the date established for the special election. And Ryan said he thought 28 days was too quick, and it was very difficult to meet. And in my notes, I had it changed a minimum of 35 days, and then the recommendation was 45
45.
days.
I have
Yeah, I remember
suggested
45.
45
We changed
days.
it to 45.
Yep.
And then I don't know if we voted on that, but I have 35 and 45, but it remains 28.
Yeah, I remember 45.
have
I don't know if we
I have
voted on it
45
either.
in mine.
45.
Did we vote, Paul?
If not, can we just make a motion?
Can we make a motion to make it 45 days?
You guys can do whatever you want, go ahead.
Right, so I make a motion.
Motion for 45 days.
Second.
Motion made for 45 days
I
by
think we
Dan,
did already.
seconded by Mimi Larrabee. Any further discussion to change the last line in Article 7 elections, specifically Section 7-1? The motion is, when a special election to fill a vacancy is to be held, a preliminary election shall be conducted, if necessary, 45 days before the date established for a special election. Is that the motion?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? You wanna say anything else? I saw your hand, I didn't know.
I was scratching my head.
Okay, so, motion passes, it will be changed to 45. Moving on, preliminary election procedures.
Yeah, we may wanna look at that, because at the bottom of A, it does talk about the 45th day. So the form shall be submitted to the Board of Elections on or before 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 45th day prior to the declared date of the preliminary election.
Just read it into the record what you're addressing. Section 7-2, preliminary election procedures. Committee member, Tim is bringing up the forms, shall be submitted to the Board of Elections on or before 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 45th day. May appear on the ballot for only one office at any preliminary, regular, or special. So 45 was the time in there, okay. But there's no motion to change that.
No, I
No,
just wanted to
okay,
bring it up
all
just
right,
'cause I.
that it was
Just
45.
to confirm that
Yeah.
we were right before, and I think it just said.
All right. Moving on, ballot position,
We
Did-
eliminated the lottery.
correct, we put alphabetical. Determination of candidates, office of mayor, city council. I have something here that says fix. If the preliminary election was at a time of lowest of votes would entitle a candidate receiving the same, that candidate's name in the official ballot, all, a tie vote, oh, this is about the preliminary. That both will go on there.
Where are you, in determination of candidates?
I'm under determination of candidates, little 3, I tie votes.
Oh, got it, yep.
But I doesn't,
Preliminary
shall be
elections.
printed, the ballot exceeding twice the number elected, but I don't think it needed to be fixed, I just wrote notes that said that. Oh, and then we did condition making preliminary and necessary. We changed something, and I think we need to go back for a second. So, we took the clerk's office out of elections.
Absolutely.
Remember?
Yep.
So,
The,
going to the elections commissions.
correct.
Wait a second, it says, and the form shall be submitted to the Board of Elections Committee for certification of the names on or before the 14th day preceding. Here, what it, right, so, condition making preliminary and necessary if at the expiration of the time for filing statements of candidates to be voted for at any preliminary election not more than twice, or as many statements have been filed with the city clerk. Should that say elections, or does it stay city clerk? A city
Know to
clerk
call
down
that out
here.
at all.
Condition making preliminary and necessary.
If at the expiration-
I believe that would come out because that would still be filing a paper with the city clerk, dealing with
Right.
elections.
But should it, well then, should it say city clerk and elections, or should it just say elections
I believe, my memory is that we took the city clerk
To elections,
completely out
right.
of the elections process.
so, yes would be the answer then, so
so
it should
if
say
at,
to
go ahead,
elections.
if at,
So such statements have been filed with the city clerk for an office as are to be elected for such office, that should say,
city, it should, city clerk should be out, and it should
it
say
should
board of,
read Board of Elections.
it should say, it should say.
And does
Yeah,
that
it
also
should say
apply-
Board of Elections.
Yeah, and does that also apply to printing the names on the ballot? Is the Board of Elections responsible for printing?
Yes.
ballots?
Yes,
The ballots are usually sent out.
The order of the names,
but I
we should,
think they said, they're responsible for 'em.
Yeah,
yeah, but it,
absolutely.
but ballot position, the order of which names candidate for each office appear on the ballot shall be alphabetically. We don't have to put Board of Elections in there.
No.
No. But number D, it should say not more than twice as many such statements have been filed with the Board of Elections for an office as are elected to such
Yeah,
office,
that,
right?
you're talking about the conditions for a preliminary election.
Right, and then those candidates shall be voted on for such a, succeed the regular, and the city clerk shall not print those names. It should be the Board of Elections.
Yes, should not
right?
print those names, right?
Board of Elections shall not print those names. Does everybody see where we're at? And no other not, okay,
By the way, just so everybody knows, this involvement with the city clerk in this process, this is new in this charter. Before this charter passed, the city clerk had
nothing to do with it, I
with
know,
any of this.
I know. All right, 7-3, regular city election, 7-4, and 7-6.
I have in my notes that 7-4 should read ballot position city elections, and the regular was taken out, but I don't know if that was voted on.
7-4,
Yeah. Ballot position city elections rather than
Not regular.
like
Yes.
all of them.
I
Yes.
have regular scratched out.
So, yes, so, yeah, regular was supposed to come out.
I believe
Yeah,
I remember
strike the
crossing it
regular.
out, yes.
Okay, moving on. 7-5, nonpartisan, right?
That would be section 7.32.
Because
No,
that is the
because that is a
regular city
regular
Okay.
city
election.
election.
All right,
Oh, yeah, I didn't read that.
That's different than a special election.
all right, so, are we,
Sorry about that.
7-5, 7-6? Okay, moving on. 7-7, application of general laws. Any more? Okay, moving on. Article 8, citizen participation mechanisms. 8-1, free petition. 8-2, citizen initiatives. Any discussion?
We changed a lot
We
of
did
these
change,
numbers.
we did. We lowered them,
Yeah.
yeah. But any further discussion? Okay,
I think so.
moving on. D, action on petitions, submission of initiative petitions, publication, form of question. We changed that too, remember? Or no? No, we didn't change that. It was the recall. Never mind me.
Okay, fine.
Never mind me, my friends. Any discussion? Moving on. Again, can always come back. I can't say that enough. Section 8.3, citizen referendum procedures and ineligible measures. Any further discussion? Moving on.
I believe we lowered the percentage on that.
We did. 5%. Recall, 8.5. Application, recall petition, recall election, recall of one or more, office holder, recall election ballots.
We changed a lot of stuff
We
there.
changed a lot of it.
Despite what people think, some people said.
We changed any holder, it had 3 months or after they take office. Recall 10 voters, 10 persons, timing, we changed a lot, but then these are the new changes. All right, moving on. And required voter participation, submission of other matters, conflicting provisions. Moving on, general provisions. Charter changes. Severability, specific provision to prevail, rules and regulations. Periodic review, I know what I wanted to do, I got notes here. All right, periodic review, 9.5. So we changed a
We
lot
said
of
every
it.
5 years, right?
We changed it, but, hang on, I just wanna go back up here. The voters, oh, it says it, voters in the city. Okay, then I'm all done, because, okay, ignore me.
I have a note
I
on
like it when we
9.6.
note out that it's voters in Fall River.
Right,
I have
okay.
a note on 9.6, and I don't know if, what I meant, but maybe you guys can clarify. Next to 9.6, it says, I have my note, it says, must be statutory language. And then it says strike 9.6, passed on 5/8/23.
I had us striking it out too.
because something about statutory language, the rationale behind striking that piece was, we all agreed that it needs to be statutory
What piece
language.
were we striking?
9-6.
The whole thing.
9-6.
The whole thing, I thought we struck it right out.
Yeah, that's why when it
don't
came
have
up
that.
again in the new, I had that, and it was passed on 5-8. Because of the way it's written, the language is not appropriate.
I do
I'll
have.
check the minutes.
You'll check them?
I'll check
Okay,
them.
he'll check. So why don't we make a note that we're gonna, hang on, let me write this down.
Now, the language
So-
that's here for 9-6 is different than what was in the original.
What date, I'm sorry, what date did you say we
5-8.
passed it? On 5/8? Okay, go ahead, Kathy, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, what's in there now for 9-6 is not the same language that was in the original charter.
It's not.
So did we move to strike it and
Did we,
fix the language?
Yeah, it's very different.
maybe that's now statutory language.
Yeah,
So-
cause we had, I remember we
just
were
need to
talking
go
about
back.
looking
Yeah.
for the
We need to
general
go back
laws
and
for
see.
that.
Tracy said on 5/8, we struck the whole
What
section.
and why?
Paul will check, so Paul
Okay.
will
Check.
check,
I'll
Yeah.
check the minutes.
check the
Cause
minutes.
it was definitely changed
Mhm.
and
Yep.
quite substantially, actually.
It was
Yes,
just
it
confusing
was.
for me because this said strike and then it appeared. Yes, the language is different, but I didn't know if there was
Mhm.
I didn't take as copious notes as you all do. But
All
I
my
should point it
copious
out.
notes.
Well, you know
are
what the
on my
problem
phone.
is? I got 10 of these printed up already with notes on all 10. I don't
Right.
have one running one. I used to have
I
the
have one
original,
running.
the one running. So I like it when he sends updated, but then I gotta go back to see what I did, what my other notes say.
Right.
All right, uniform procedures governing multi-member bodies. Moving on.
In there is.
Oh, I know what I wanted to be. Oh,
Officer.
he put registered vote, oh, it's voters of the city, registered voters of the city, voters of the cities. On, oh, no, I'm in the wrong we're on, I went to.
We're on 9-7.
9-7 uniform procedures. Yeah, you know something? I think I had that whole 9-6 out too. Okay.
Oh, is that what officers mean?
I was just saying, this is officers.
That's what, so it's the chair, vice chair, and secretary of a multi-member board or body.
This
That's
don't-
what an officer is, apparently, according to this. Maybe we answered our own question.
Yeah, from earlier.
What those
Yeah.
would be.
So, I was right. That's where the year comes. That guy on that board read this. I can't talk about anything. That's
Not
where
on
he
the
got it
board,
from.
If he
That's where he
served
got
as
it.
an officer on the board, like, we are board, some of us are, and some of us aren't.
Right.
Oh,
So-
we're officers,
Right, so.
and you
this
guys are
appear-
not officers.
Right. So there's
So
different.
we can talk, but you can't.
Right,
See, that's why we gotta fix that
that doesn't
prohibition.
make sense.
You're right. That's why we're fixing it.
Yes.
Tim's gonna write something so phenomenal. So I'm gonna
Tim.
put okay, so, but this 9-7, by the way, we need to
Right.
revisit,
Yeah,
because
we
this
gotta go to
whole
9-7
name
again.
officers, right? So 9-7 mentions
Revisit.
officers. That's what happened. We need to fix, okay, Yes. yes, sir.
Not to belabor a point, but now that it was just raised again, I'm extremely curious.
Mm.
What did your colleague, I'll call him that, cause I don't know who it was, don't need to know. What did the person say they could not discuss?
Discuss or answer the question I had. I had a general question of subject matter of that board. It was just a general question, like, do I need to get my dog his rabies shot? It was like a general, it wasn't that dog question, and he said, well, it's 2 days after my retirement, I can talk about it. And I went, well, lucky me.
I don't see how that, but I understand what
Is
you're
that
saying.
referenced here, you see?
Yeah, I didn't see it, that's what I'm saying, you're talking about section 9-7?
No. He's asking me again about my prohibition story. And I said, maybe that's where he gets it from, because he might have been an officer.
You can't prevent
Yeah, but where
somebody
does
from.
it say?
But
they
it
can't
doesn't
speak?
It doesn't say
anything
it
about
here, but
officers.
remember how it said it
We were
in
saying the
Prohibition, said officers for a year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it said
And
officer,
then
city
here's where
departments,
officers came
officers,
up.
remember,
okay.
and
So
and
he must have
multi-member
thought,
Okay, okay.
Now we just got to
he must have
9/7,
been,
we're going,
I don't
oh,
know what his
that's what
position
it
was,
is.
but he must have been an
What's an
officer
And
of
now
that
we kinda answered
board.
our question.
Can I ask a legal question for just a sec?
Sure you
I'll
regarding-
do my best to answer.
Yeah, Mimi is a wealth of knowledge.
Phone friend.
On the fact of like silencing someone on a board, and I don't know the process to this, so I could be wrong, but are they signing confidentiality agreements, non-disclosure agreements?
No.
So then realistically, you cannot silence anyone to do
Ab-
anything without there being some legal document that they either sign upon taking the position or upon leaving the position, because there's nothing else.
What-
Well,
what-
the
what's the
language
team?
in Prohibition says orders or directions, right? It says directives or orders. Now, if I call Dan and say, do I have to get my dog a rabies shot? And he says, yeah, you gotta go get your dog a rabies shot. Is that an order or a directive? Cause I take it as a
Neither,
directive.
It's
And the-
answering a question.
The prohibition for an officer says he can't give me a directive for a year.
I'm not giving you a
If
directive.
we wanna micro lawyer this to death.
I'm not giving you a directive,
No.
you asked the question.
Well, I
No, I
think,
think you're confusing the two of them though,
But-
because the one is holding other city positions, which is the year. But then the other is the interference with administration under prohibitions. But there's no time frame on that.
No, I'm talking about, the prohibition said officers, department heads, and school committee. And this thing right? So, I must have called that person, they must have been, a chair, vice chair, I don't know, I didn't know, I just called because I knew, right? I said, hey, la 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 la, and he went, oh, you're in luck, it's 2 days after my retirement.
But I don't think that there's anything that says that you can't speak.
well, that,
No,
that, and that
there's-
The person that
I
is
think
the
it's
elected
incorrect.
member cannot call you and say, I was going through the files and noticed you didn't have your dog
His rabies shot.
rabies shot. You need to go and do that, because
Right.
I'm the director of this board and
That's
that
the
director of
difference,
the-
I
and
mean,
Yeah,
so
that
I
would
mean,
be
it's
That's why that
context.
prohibition stuff
con-
makes me nuts.
It's
Yeah.
context a little
I
bit.
get it, I get it.
9-7,
Silence a board member.
uniform procedures governing multi-member
Nothing
boards.
says that here.
So, 9-7, okay. Any references to laws? 9-9, computation of time. 9-10, oaths or affirmations. Any discussion yet today, just today? Okay. 9-10, oaths. 9-11, certificate of election or appointment. 9-12, limitation. 9-13, felony conviction. 9-14, enforcement of the charter provisions.
That's
Any
where the
more
gr-
discussion?
That's where that three-member committee comes in.
Yeah, where's the grievance committee with the,
On enforcement.
9:14.
oh, yeah, is it in there?
Yeah, it's the second paragraph.
Oh, okay, there we
In
go.
order of enforcement, charter.
Got it, got it.
What does this mean, though? If it, I'm under 9-14, under enforcement of charter provisions, everybody. I'm 5 sentences down, I'm just gonna read it into the record. If it shall appear to the city council that the mayor personally is not following the charter, what does the mayor personally not following it? Like, does personally have to be there? Can it just be the mayor not following? All right,
or
so
not
then the new.
abiding by, would it be better?
So it just would read, if it shall appear to the city council that the mayor is not following the charter,
Right,
as versus personally.
right.
Would following be the proper word there?
I don't know, but I wanted personally out.
for
That
sure
whole
person.
Oh,
sentence.
adhering to, or
Adhering.
oh, like a
Adhering,
different word
abiding.
for
Say is not
following?
adhering to.
Yeah, maybe we get a synonym for following?
Yeah, I mean, in any of those, we just said adhering, abiding, just
Why
something
would-
that's more reference to a document.
Because it sounds, there's a better word than follow, that's all. The city council shall by resolution direct the attention of the mayor to those areas in which it believes there is a failure to comply. The procedures are available in 231A of the general laws, may use to determine the rights, duty, status, or other legal arisings arising under the charter, including any questions of construction or validity. The grievance committee, did we keep all this language in?
Does it look different?
Only a little bit. The notes that I have talk about the grievance committee, but it also talks about 7 to 14 days to review the grievance, and there's no timeline, in the
Yeah, I
second
think the
paragraph.
language we used for this was different than what's in here.
I don't remember.
I have 7 to 14 days.
I have that too.
Yeah, it looks like that first part is just what was on the original, and then.
Yeah, I think this needs updating.
The appointments are right. Appointment by one member by the mayor, one by the city council, one by the school committee. And then,
But the timeline is
yeah,
not there.
7 to 14 days.
So, Paul
I
wants
think
to
the
just
first
check.
paragraph needs to be changed too.
Yeah.
It shall be the
Yes.
duty, not only should it be the duty of the mayor, it should also be the duty of the mayor, the school committee, and the city council. I mean,
All
you've got to
elected
self-govern, you know,
All elected officials.
I think it should say,
That's what.
yeah, it shall be the duty of all the elected officials, right?
I'd still leave mayor in there, but mayor
The mayor
and all
yeah. And all
elected officials.
elected officials to, I don't like to see either.
Rather than
I
just
think I want
say
that whole paragraph.
to comply with the charter, rather than talk about a failure.
Right,
Just
right.
to comply.
It shall be the duty of the mayor and all elected officials to ensure that the charter is faithfully followed, or another word. Can we rewrite that a little bit? Are you seeing what I'm
They
seeing?
follow the
Yeah.
charter when they feel like it.
Whenever it appears to the mayor or other elected officials that a city agency, or I just would put that anyone is failing to adhere to the charter, the mayor or elected official shall in writing cause notice to be given, directing compliance.
In the fifth
Yeah, see, that
sentence
first
down, yeah.
paragraph needs a.
Yeah.
Just the first paragraph, cause the
Okay.
second paragraph is fine.
Yeah.
Well.
What happens
but we
after the
had-
charter violation? We didn't put something in there?
I have process, notice, charter grievance, court options, fix it, I don't know, I can't read my notes now.
Yeah,
In other words,
paragraph.
if they weren't satisfied with the outcome of the grievance committee, the following step would be a court.
Yeah, I thought I'm gonna go back through my notes. I thought that we had a little more in there.
But in the second paragraph, though, we did have a thing about days, 7 to 14 days, I'm just not sure.
For
Yeah.
what? That the grievance committee would hear it?
Well,
See, must be written, it must be, and also, what's not in here, it has to be a written, the complaint has to be in writing and the findings have to be in writing.
but also too, now when we look at this, we talk about the grievance committee shall be established. And then it says, at each meeting, there will be an opportunity for public comment, and, well, how often do they meet?
Well, they would only meet when there's a
When
grievance.
they need to.
Right,
Within 7 to 14 days.
right.
Okay, so I think, yeah, that's.
So the whole thing, yeah, we need to rewrite next, to the next meeting, because paragraph number 1 needs attention. And then 9:15, periodic review of the need for multi-member bodies.
Five voters.
That one, I think, stayed the same. Inspection of documents, conflict of interest, public comment rules or policy. We didn't change much in there. Eligibility for health insurance, continuation of existing laws, government administration, effect obligations, charter amendments taking effect, review of ordinances. Any discussion for now on all that, because, just to go over my notes for tonight. Oh, Paul's gonna send out page 6 to everybody, right? We're gonna review Article 3, the executive branch, the prohibitions, maybe doing a whole prohibition section to apply to all 3 areas. I'll inquire about city officer, and I'll check with the clerk. I'll also check with Corporation Counsel, because now that there are some titles that have officer in it. And, the prohibition, Mimi's gonna check on the school committee. Maybe we just have a whole abuse of power section, which I like that. Laying out what actually is
They'll
abuse
see how
of
it's written.
power. 9-6, Tracy is gonna check on the 5-8 notes, cause she thinks we struck the whole section, and Paul's gonna check the minutes on 9-6.
I have another note related to that at the end here, in the last page, the old 10.5N.
That's right, we struck that.
We struck the whole thing, and it said periodic review moved. This becomes new 9-6 every
Yes.
5 years.
Okay,
So that's what we did.
That's where the 5 years.
that's
Where
what
the
it is.
language came from.
Yeah, we took it from there.
Copious notes.
So, yeah, you can email that
Can you,
to
can
Paul.
you repeat that? What,
So the periodic review,
which provision?
and O, that became the new 9-6. It was moved and became the new 9-6, so we struck all of the 9-6 language. That's why it looks so different, because it's this.
Oh, the new
The
9-6.
And it says, again, passed on 5-8, the notes continue there, and passed
So
on 5-8.
Paul checked the minutes.
So that actually
Yeah.
matches with my other notes.
And then 9-14, just
So
number,
what are you saying about 9-6 now?
9-6 is the old 10-5N. The new 9-6.
the new 9-6. I'll
Was
email,
replaced with 10.
is
10
the old 10-5 N and O.
Now is okay.
You don't have, do you have the old on
that's-
you?
Yeah, so
All right.
that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And Paul will, all right, 9-14, just paragraph 1 needs fixing, and on 9-7, again, it mentions the officers, and we need to fix that
Revisit, yep.
paragraph. And you're gonna look at the gender, right? Or officers, no,
Yeah,
you're
I'll
gonna look
do-
up officers.
I'll do officer,
Okay.
and I'll look at the gender references too.
Is there any, our next meeting is January 29th in here. I'm gonna reserve through, I wanna talk about February for a second. Is there any that's not good for anybody in February? We're definitely meeting 129, and I can tell you, I may miss a couple in February, but you don't have to go by my schedule. I want you guys to operate on yours.
Rena, I may not, I have a busy week this week, so I may have some difficulty getting things done.
So, but we could do the minutes anytime, because you have
Yeah.
9.
We all have homework that we can
Don't
work
worry,
on.
we all got homework.
February 12th is a
Yeah.
conflict for me.
I
What
don't
is
know
it?
that I'm gonna
February
get
12th.
Keeping me out of jail is a
And the
full-time
19th
job,
is a
isn't it,
holiday.
Mr. Machado?
So
I
if it-
can't do the 5th or the 12th. I'm
So-
in New Orleans the
All right,
first,
tell me
and
what's,
then-
tell me
school
about
committee the
February. I'm gonna
12th.
start down there. Tim, how's February?
So I can't do anything the week of the 19th or the week of the 26th.
Well, the 19th is President's Day.
Yeah.
That's a holiday.
It wouldn't be, we wouldn't, government center won't.
Yeah, be closed, we won't get it. Kathy, what's not good for you in February?
I think I'm okay.
Okay,
I'm not, oh,
Tracy?
go ahead, Tracy.
I can't do the 12th. I have a work commitment.
okay. And Mimi?
I can't do the 5th or the 12th. Obviously, and the 19th, obviously.
12. And
26th is the only day I can do in February. Oh, I could do the 5th too.
Dan, do you have any that you,
I'm in New Orleans
Mr.
Oh, that's
Machado?
a nice
for a
place to be.
conference.
No,
All right,
February's
yeah,
okay.
I need to do March too then, because we're gonna end up in March.
Okay.
Tim, how's your? Okay. I might book March right away then.
Yeah.
March, okay. Kathy, March,
Yeah,
okay?
So far.
Okay. Tracy, March, okay?
Just not March 4th, that's my birthday, so.
We'll bring a cake.
Well, then if you do that, I'll come.
Consider it done.
March is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Mimi, what are your meetings?
No 12th, no, I mean, no 11th.
March, no, 11. And, Paul, how about you? How's your February and March?
February is okay,
Oh, the 8th.
however,
I
I'm
don't
going to
think I
be
can.
away in March.
Go ahead. Just give me the beginning and end dates.
March 8th,
Yep.
to March 19th.
Okay. All right, perfect. I will try to make everybody happy. I will be unavailable a ton in February and March. Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, you will be taking over, and what I will do is I'll make hard copies for you,
Thank you.
because I know,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank
So,
you.
other than that, do we have any other new business? Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously passes, unless you guys want discussion on that.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
Can I ask you, and I won't get to